All right, folks, listen up. We've got a convoy of Arctic air masses stacking up, poised to barrel through the eastern two-thirds of the country. I need to shoot straight with you right from the start. This isn't just some passing cold snap that's here today and gone tomorrow. We are staring down the barrel of a complete atmospheric reset. This setup is locked and loaded to deliver prolonged, bone-chilling cold, heavy snow, and what worries me the most, dangerous ice accumulation for millions of families over the coming weeks. At the 2:45 mark, I'm going to drill down into the specific neighborhoods in the crosshairs for ice storms. By minute 5, we'll walk through the daily timeline so you can get your week sorted. And please, stay with me until minute 15. I've got some practical safety tips that could truly mean the difference between life and death for your kin. What we're watching unfold is the classic polar vortex stretching its legs and spilling south. Now, if you're not a weather buff like me, just picture a massive reservoir of freezing air that usually stays fenced in at the North Pole, spinning tight to keep the cold contained. But when that circulation gets thrown off kilter, it's like leaving the freezer door wide open. All that frigid air pours right down into our backyards. Right now, a high-pressure ridge is setting up shop over Greenland. We call that a block. Imagine dropping a giant boulder into a river. It forces the water, or in this case, the jet stream, to divert. That detour opens the floodgates for Arctic air to plunge south. Europe is already shivering, and we are next in line. The jet stream, that highway of air 5 to 7 miles up that steers our weather, is taking a nosedive that essentially rolls out the red carpet for cold and snow in the east. On the flip side, folks down in the southwest are going to keep seeing temperatures way above the seasonal average. We're still in the grip of a La Niña pattern, and she's playing by the book, keeping the thermostat cranked up across Texas, Arizona, and New Mexico. Let's put this in perspective. The first major player is already coming together over Montana and the Dakotas. As this system tracks toward the Great Lakes on Sunday, the pressure is going to bottom out fast, what we meteorologists call Bombogenesis, or a bomb cyclone. The National Weather Service has already posted winter storm watches for Wisconsin and the upper Midwest, and I'd bet my bottom dollar those get upgraded to warnings before you know it. Get a load of this. Some spots in Michigan's Upper Peninsula and northern Wisconsin could get buried under a foot of snow from just this first round. And friends, that's just the appetizer. Long-range data shows wave after wave of cold air lining up for the first 2 weeks of January. Let me guide you through the timing, day by day, because when you're protecting your home and family, knowing times when times is half the battle. Right now, on this Saturday, it feels deceptively pleasant across most of the east. We've got temperatures in the 70s and 80s down south. Even folks up in Iowa are seeing the 50s. Soak up that fresh air while you can, because the other shoe is about to drop. Moving into tonight and Sunday, that storm really starts to flex its muscles over the northern plains. Light snow is already dusting parts of Montana. Colorado is finally getting some moisture after a bone-dry start, though it won't be enough to really build that base the ski resorts are praying for. Sunday is where the rubber meets the road. As that low spins up toward the Great Lakes, the backside of the storm is going to drag down genuine Arctic air. The mercury is going to crash, and the winds are going to howl, sustained speeds of 30 to 40 miles per hour, with gusts even higher. That combination creates dangerous whiteout conditions. Visibility can vanish in a heartbeat, making travel downright treacherous. Now, this cold front is going to sweep all the way down through Texas on Sunday. Ahead of it, we have warm, moist air streaming north. This collision zone is where the ice threat becomes severe, and I need you to really pay attention here. Southern Ontario, especially north of Toronto, is in the bullseye for ice. We could see a 1/4 inch, maybe even a 1/2 inch of glaze. To give you an idea, a 1/4 inch is all it takes to snap branches and tear down lines. If we hit a 1/2 inch, we're talking crippling damage to the grid. You need to be prepared for the lights to go out and stay out, not just for hours, but potentially for days. That icing risk stretches right into Quebec, with Montreal facing freezing rain issues. Here in the States, parts of Vermont, New Hampshire, and northern Maine are also in the crosshairs. Northern Maine might stay just cold enough to keep it all as snow, which, believe it or not, is a blessing in disguise. The thing about ice is that it doesn't play fair. You can shovel snow, but ice seals everything. It weighs down power lines until they snap, it brings tree limbs crashing onto roofs and cars, it turns roads into skating rinks, and even walking to the mailbox becomes a hazard. There is a verse in Proverbs 22:3 that says, "The prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and suffer for it." That is biblical wisdom for weather safety. God gave us the tools to forecast this stuff, so we can be good stewards of our safety. It's not about fear, it's about being smart. If you are in that ice zone, the wise move is to prepare now. By Sunday night into Monday, the storm center will be sitting just east of Chicago. We're looking at a solid blanket of 6 inches of snow or more covering eastern Minnesota and northern Wisconsin. The blended forecast models, which act like a consensus of our best computer data, are painting a picture of over 12 inches of snow for parts of the U.P. in Michigan. As the system wraps up tight, some neighbors up in Canada could be digging out from over a foot of fresh powder. Further south, ahead of the cold front, it's going to start as rain through the Ohio Valley and Mid-Atlantic. Detroit is going to get a soaking before it gets white. Chicago will likely catch some snow, but the heaviest dumping looks to stay north of the city. Monday morning is when reality sets in. If you're waking up in Houston, you'll be stuck in the 50s, a huge shock to the system after the warmth you felt today. Up in the Great Lakes, wind chills will be flirting with 0. That cold front is moving with a purpose. By the time you pour your coffee Monday morning, temperatures will be diving into the 20s across Mississippi and Alabama. Folks wearing t-shirts on Saturday will be hunting for winter coats by Monday. The chill deepens on Tuesday. Northern Mississippi and Alabama will be lucky to see 30 degrees for a high. Even Florida isn't escaping this grasp. Orlando is going to struggle to get out of the 50s, and by Wednesday morning, if the winds align just right, we could see frost threatening the crops down the peninsula. Once the main storm moves out, the lake effect machine kicks into gear. When you run that bitter Arctic air over the relatively warm Great Lakes, it acts like a steam engine. The air sucks up moisture, rises, and dumps heavy snow bands on the downwind shores. It's good news for the skiers. Resorts across the Northeast and the Great Lakes are finally going to get the natural snow production they've been waiting on all season. Now, looking ahead to the new year, things get really interesting. The atmosphere looks like it wants to stay active. New Year's Eve could bring another system rippling through, potentially dropping snow from the Ohio Valley into Pennsylvania. The cold air is going to lock in across the northern states. This isn't a quick visit, it's a long-term residence. Once a pattern like this sets up, it tends to stick around. Peeking into the crystal ball for the first week of January, the models are hinting at an even deeper plunge of cold air reaching all the way into the southeast. We aren't just talking chilly, we are talking about significant, anomalous cold. I'm not going to promise a specific storm that far out that would be irresponsible. But I will tell you, this is the classic recipe for big East Coast winter storms. You get that cold air entrenched, add Gulf moisture moving up the coast, and that is how you get the blockbusters that shut down cities from Atlanta to Boston. The European model was trying to spin something up in the Northeast during that window last night. I take specific model runs with a grain of salt this far in advance, but I respect the pattern. And right now, the pattern says we need to be ready for some serious winter weather. All right, folks, let me walk you through this map sector by sector so you know exactly what is coming down the pike and how to get your family ready. Let's kick things off out west. If you are in California, you can finally catch your breath. That relentless parade of atmospheric rivers is taking a break, and those flood advisories are going to expire. Looks like Monday and Tuesday will give you some much-needed drying out time. But don't get too comfortable. Come next Friday, January 2nd, another system starts eyeing the Pacific Northwest. Washington and Oregon, you look pretty calm for most of the week, but that moisture train will try to drag itself back down to California by the following Sunday. Out west in the Rockies, things are looking pretty calm. We're only seeing a few stray flurries, maybe a light dusting or an inch for the high peaks in Colorado and Wyoming. The valleys won't see much of anything. This isn't the big storm, folks. Even looking north to our neighbors in Canada, the major systems are staying way up high. Unless you're listening from the coastal mountains of British Columbia, way past Vancouver, You aren't going to see any serious snow piling up. Now, for my friends out in the plains, brace yourselves for some serious weather whiplash. It feels like May out there right now, doesn't it? Enjoy it while it lasts, because a cold front is going to slam the door shut on Sunday. By Monday, folks in the Dakotas down to Oklahoma are going to see the thermometer plunge 20 or 30 degrees in a heartbeat. We might catch a little upslope flow along the Front Range in Colorado and dipping into the Texas Panhandle, squeezing out some snow, but don't expect to be shoveling out your driveway. However, the Midwest and Great Lakes, you guys are right in the bullseye. Wisconsin, you need to batten down the hatches for a real deal winter storm starting Sunday night. We're looking at a solid 6 to 12 inches of heavy snow with the mother lode up north. And for the upper peninsula of Michigan, I hate to say it, but there is another foot of snow with your name on it. Minnesota, you aren't off the hook either. The eastern counties could easily pick up 6 inches or more. But the real kicker is what happens after the flakes stop flying. The temperatures are going to tank. We are talking bitter, sub-zero cold rushing in behind that low-pressure system. Indiana and Illinois, you are stuck in that messy middle ground between rain and snow. Chicago and Indy might see a few flakes, but your big headache is going to be that bone-chilling wind. It's going to cut right through your coat. Michigan, especially from Detroit to Grand Rapids, keep a sharp eye out for a dangerous cocktail of ice and sleet. The Ohio Valley and Mid-Atlantic, it looks like mostly rain for you, but do not get complacent. Before the freezing air hits, we could see some severe thunderstorms with gusts over 40 miles per hour, and once that front clears out, the temperatures are going to drop like a rock. Pittsburgh, Columbus, Cincinnati, you are going to feel like you skipped an entire season in one day. You will be enjoying the 60s on Sunday and shivering in the 20s and 30s by Monday morning. Up in the Northeast, the ice potential has me genuinely worried. Vermont, New Hampshire, upstate New York, and Maine, this is the kind of setup that brings down power lines and snaps tree branches. Even a quarter inch of ice is a recipe for trouble. And for the snowbelts, that lake effect machine is waking up. Buffalo, Syracuse, Erie, you folks are hardy, you know the drill. But with this Arctic air locking in place, this lake effect event could sit over you for days. Don't put the shovels away just yet. Down in the southeast, it is a wild ride. You are enjoying that beautiful, near-record warmth today in the Carolinas and Virginia. But mark my words, by Tuesday, you will be bundling up with temps 15 to 20 degrees below average. A 40-degree swing that fast is rare, but it is coming. Even North Florida isn't safe from the chill. Orlando, better cover up those sensitive plants because you might be touching the freezing mark by Wednesday morning. I want to pause the forecast here and have a serious talk about safety. Knowing the weather is one thing, but being prepared is what protects your family. Let me give you some fatherly advice on how to get through this safely. Let's talk about the roads, because we lose too many neighbors to winter accidents every year. The number one rule is simple. Slow down. If the sign says 65, you need to be doing 40, maybe 30. It is better to arrive late than to never make it home at all. You have to respect the laws of nature on ice. Your stopping distance increases 9 times. Imagine needing the length of 3 football fields just to bring your car to a stop. That is the reality of black ice. You need to leave plenty of breathing room between you and the car in front. Forget the 3-second rule. On snow, give yourself 6 to 8 seconds. Pick a road sign and count 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, all the way to 7. If you pass it before then, back off. Drive like your grandmother is in the back seat holding a full pot of hot chili. No sudden jerks, no stomping on the gas, no slamming the brakes. You want to be gentle and smooth with the wheel. If you hit a slick patch and start sliding, fight the urge to panic and do not slam on the brakes. That just locks your wheels and you lose control. If you have ABS brakes, stomp and hold. If not, pump them gently. Steer where you want the car to go, not at the ditch. Honestly, the best advice I can offer is this. If you do not have to go out, stay put. Spend time with your family. Why risk white-knuckling it on the highway if you don't have to? If you are out and you can't see the hood of your car, or folks are spinning out left and right, trust your gut. Pull off at the nearest safe exit and wait it out. No meeting or appointment is worth your life. Don't become a statistic. If travel is essential, you need an emergency survival kit in your trunk. I am talking about gear to keep you alive if you get stuck overnight. Pack thick wool blankets or sleeping bags and keep that gas tank at least half full. It helps with traction and keeps your fuel line from freezing up. Make sure you have a flashlight with fresh batteries, jumper cables, a sturdy ice scraper, and a shovel. I always toss a bag of kitty litter or sand in the back for traction. Throw in some water, protein bars, a phone charger, and warm clothes, hats, gloves, boots, even if you think you won't need them. If heaven forbid you do get stranded, stay with your vehicle. It is your shelter. Run the engine for 10 minutes every hour to keep warm, but please check that exhaust pipe first. If snow blocks it, carbon monoxide can fill the car. That is a silent killer. Tie something bright like a red bandana or scarf to your antenna or door handle. You want the highway patrol or rescue crews to spot you against the white snow. Now, let's look at protecting your home. Burst pipes are a huge headache you don't want. When water freezes, it expands and breaks the pipe, costing you thousands. Open the cabinet doors under the sinks to let the warm air in. Let the faucets trickle just a little bit. Moving water doesn't freeze easily. Make sure everyone knows where the main water shutoff is. If a pipe goes, you need to kill the water fast. Disconnect your garden hoses and insulate any pipes in the garage. A little work now saves you a lot of grief later. Have a backup plan for heat. If the power grid fails, how do you stay warm? A wood stove or fireplace is a godsend. Just check the chimney first. But never ever bring a gas oven or charcoal grill inside. The fumes are deadly. If you are using space heaters, treat them with care. Keep them 3 feet away from the sofa or curtains and never go to sleep with one running. Make sure it has that safety switch that cuts the power if it tips over. Make your grocery run before the first flake falls. You want at least 3 days of supplies. Get a gallon of water per person per day. Stock up on things. You don't need to cook peanut butter, crackers, canned goods. Don't forget your medicine and diapers if you have little ones. Don't forget, the pets get their food too. Keep a battery-powered radio for emergency broadcasts and keep some cash in your wallet. If the power goes out, those credit card machines are just useless plastic. Check your smoke detectors and carbon monoxide alarms today. With heaters running and fireplaces roaring, the fire risk goes up. You will sleep easier knowing your family is protected if something goes wrong. For folks in the ice storm zones, be realistic. The power is likely going out. Ice tears down lines like twigs. The linemen work hard, but they can't go up in the buckets until the wind dies down. You could be in the dark for 3 to 5 days. If you live out in the country, it might be a week. That is just the reality of rural living, so prepare for the long haul. Charge everything up right now. Phones, laptops, battery packs. If you or a loved one relies on medical equipment, call your power company immediately to get on the priority list. Be a good neighbor, check on the elderly, and look out for each other. You need a solid strategy for where the family will hunker down if the electricity cuts out for a long stretch. Folks, we need to respect what this deep freeze does to the human body. Frostbite can set in within just 30 minutes when those wind chills hit 20 below zero. And the upper Midwest is absolutely going to see those dangerous numbers. It usually hits your fingers, toes, nose, and ears first. Watch for skin turning pale, waxy, or going numb. If you see that, get inside fast. Use warm water, never hot, and don't rub the skin. If feeling doesn't come back, see a doctor. Hypothermia is even scarier. That is when your core temperature drops. Watch for the umbles, stumbling, mumbling, fumbling, along with shivering and confusion. With babies, look for cold, red skin, and low energy. Listen, if you see someone shivering uncontrollably or they stop shivering altogether, that is a medical emergency. You need to act immediately. Get them indoors, remove those wet layers, and focus on warming the core areas like the chest, neck, and head. Use dry blankets or, if necessary, your own body heat to stabilize them. Now, regarding gear, don't just throw on a massive parka and call it good. Effective insulation is all about the layering system. Start with a moisture-wicking base to keep your skin dry, add a fleece or wool mid-layer to hold the heat, and finish with a windproof shell. And folks, please wear a beanie. You lose a massive amount of body heat right through your scalp. Here is a pro tip I learned years ago. Swap the gloves for mittens. When your fingers touch, they share warmth, which keeps them nimble much longer. Pair those with thick wool socks and genuine waterproof boots, and you will handle the elements just fine. Limit your exposure time as much as possible. And please, ignore that old wives' tale about brandy or whiskey warming you up. It is actually dangerous. Alcohol opens up your blood vessels near the skin, which might feel warm, but it actually drains your core heat rapidly. Save the drink for when you are safely by the fireplace. I need to have a serious word with my peers and anyone with cardiac concerns. Shoveling heavy snow is a common trigger for heart failure. Do not lift that snow, push it like a plow. Pace yourself, take frequent breathers, and the second you feel any chest tightness, drop that shovel and go inside. Let's take a breather from the charts for a moment. I know seeing a forecast map turn purple and red can put a knot in your stomach. Worrying about your elderly parents, the drive to work, or just keeping the pipes from freezing is a heavy burden to carry. But I want to remind you of 2 Timothy 1:7. The Lord has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. We do not prepare out of panic. We prepare because we are called to be wise stewards. God sees you, and He is right there with you in the storm. So here is the deal. We do our due diligence, we seal up the windows, we stock the pantry, and then we hand the worry over to Him. We trust His providence once we have done our part. Practicing our faith looks like walking across the street. Before the first flake falls, go check on the widow next door or that older couple down the block. Ask them directly, do you have your medication? Is your heating system reliable? You might be the answer to their prayers. If you have a generator, offer to store their insulin so it doesn't spoil. If you drive a 4-wheel drive, let them know you can get them to the hospital if the drifts get too high. Jesus was clear in Matthew 25. Whatever we do for the least of these, we do for Him. Whether it is clearing a driveway for a single mother or fixing a furnace for a senior citizen, these weather events are opportunities to demonstrate the love of Christ. This isn't just about survival. It is about ministry. It is our chance to be the hands and feet of Jesus right here in our own communities. If you are watching this broadcast alone, especially my older viewers, do not suffer in silence. Pick up the telephone, call a deacon, a neighbor, or a family member. There is no shame in admitting you need some support. Think of it this way. Allowing someone to assist you gives them a blessing too. And if you know someone who lives alone, be the proactive one and make that call today. Okay, let's pivot back to the meteorology and talk timelines so you can plan your week effectively. To my neighbors up in southern Ontario, Quebec, and northern New England, your window for preparation is closing. By Sunday night, that freezing rain begins. You need to fill your bathtubs, ensure your devices are at 100%, and have your emergency supplies ready immediately. That tub full of water is crucial. It allows you to manually flush toilets if a power outage kills your water pump. Trust me, you will be glad you did it. Folks in Wisconsin and Michigan, you have a bit of a grace period until Sunday morning before the gale force winds and snow arrive. Ensure your propane tanks are full and prepare to be snowed in for a solid 48 hours. Go out to the garage right now and test your snowblower. You do not want to discover a carburetor issue when there is 12 inches of heavy wet snow blocking your driveway. Residents near the Great Lakes, I know you are seasoned veterans, but do not underestimate this system. This isn't your standard flurry. With this Arctic blast, we are looking at a prolonged, intense lake effect event, so assume you won't be able to reach the supermarket for days. For my friends in the South, brace yourselves for a thermal shock. You are dropping from the 70s straight into the 20s. Insulate your outdoor spigots and bring sensitive plants indoors tonight because a hard freeze is imminent. Forecasting into early January, the data shows this cold air mass is stubborn. The upper Midwest will struggle to rise above the teens, and the Ohio Valley is in for a long-duration chill. The Southeast may see a fleeting warm-up midweek with some sunshine, but don't get comfortable. Another polar plunge is trailing right behind it. I am closely monitoring the setup for a significant coastal storm later in the period. When you have cold air entrenched over the east, meeting moisture from the Gulf, you have the recipe for a major nor'easter capable of dumping heavy snow from the Carolinas to Maine. It is too early to guarantee a specific track, but the atmospheric ingredients are assembling for a potentially historic event. The driver here is the jet stream configuration. A massive ridge of high pressure out west is digging a deep trough in the east. Think of it as a slide, allowing Arctic air and storms to travel directly into our region. Regrettably, this blocking pattern appears to be locking in through the middle of January. Long-range models suggest a disturbance around the 6th, but treat that with caution this far out. However, the signal for a storm track is loud and clear. I will be monitoring the teleconnections and model runs, and I will update you the moment the guidance converges on a solution. For those who love the science, let's discuss the polar vortex. Imagine a giant cyclone of freezing air anchored over the North Pole by a tight ribbon of wind. When that ribbon, the jet stream, weakens or buckles, the containment fails. The vortex elongates and allows that bitter Arctic air to spill southward into the continental United States. This is often triggered by a high-pressure block, like the one currently over Greenland, which acts like a boulder in a stream, diverting the flow and opening the gates for the cold. The southern branch of the jet is diving deep into the eastern United States, channeling that cold air, while the northern branch surges upward, causing unseasonable warmth elsewhere. It is a classic dipole pattern. We must also consider the La Niña background state. It typically energizes the jet stream, creating a storm track across the north while leaving the south dry and warm, exactly what we are observing on the ground. While this usually keeps the worst winter weather up north, atmospheric dynamics are complex. Cold fronts can still penetrate deep into the deep south, defying the climatological averages. Before we close, let me recap the critical action items to ensure your household remains safe. Number 1. A potent winter storm targets the upper Midwest and Great Lakes from Sunday into Monday. Expect heavy accumulations, 6 to 12 inches in places like Wisconsin and Minnesota, with localized amounts exceeding a foot. Combine that snow with gale-force winds, and you are looking at whiteout conditions. Stay off the highways. Number 2. A severe ice storm threatens southern Ontario and northern New England. A quarter-inch of ice accumulation will shatter tree limbs and destroy power infrastructure. Prepare for extended outages and impassable roads. Number 3. Behind the storm lies a brutal cold snap. Temperatures will crash to 20 or 30 degrees below average across the east, bringing life-threatening wind chills to the north and freezing conditions to the Gulf Coast. Number 4. This is a sustained pattern change, not a fluke. The deep freeze will persist through early January, likely delivering reinforcing shots of cold air. Number 5. Act now. Stock your pantry. Verify your backup power solutions, and check on vulnerable neighbors. If travel is unavoidable, ensure your vehicle has a survival kit. If you are in the path of this storm, prioritize these tasks. Secure food and medication immediately. Charge all electronics, winterize your home, and verify your heating system is operational. Finally, clear your schedule for Sunday and Monday. The safest place to be is inside your home. I'll leave you with this thought. The forecast is daunting, but we are not without hope. We have been given the warning, the wisdom to prepare, and the community to support one another. Stay safe, and God bless. But deeper than just supplies, we rely on the strength of our community and the solid rock of our faith to keep us grounded. It brings to mind Psalm 46, verse 1. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Let's rest in that assurance today. We will prepare wisely, check on our neighbors with love, and trust that we are going to get through this system side by side. I plan to stay right here at the desk, tracking the pressure gradients and updating you as the models come into agreement. The weather situation is fluid, so check back often. And folks, if the National Weather Service puts out a warning for your area, please take action. They don't sound the siren unless it is serious. You can always go directly to weather.gov to pull up the specific watches and warnings for your own zip code. Take care of your household and stay safe. May the Lord bless you and keep a hedge of protection around you through this winter storm. May He grant you peace even when the gale is blowing outside. and may you find a moment to be a blessing to someone else who might be in need. Stay toasty, stay safe, and keep in mind winter has arrived, but spring is on the way. Let's handle this with wisdom and prayer. Thank you for your time, and please pass this along to anyone who needs the info. Until next time, God bless.